Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com. Welcome, neighbors, to Vecinos with your host, Maria Garcia.
Good morning. Welcome to Vecinos. My guests today are two councilwomen, Mona Rios of National City and Georgette Gomez from San Diego. I'm going to start with a little bit of conversation about your childhood, how you grew up, where you grew up, your family. We'd like our listeners to know who you were before you became these powerful ladies, okay? I don't care who goes first, but one of you, please.
Okay, I'll go first. My name is Mona Rios, and I am a National City Councilwoman. I was elected in 2010 and again in 2014. Through my election in 2011, I was appointed to the MTS board. But prior to that, my career was in the library field. I was born in National City. I go back 4 generations. I try to always tell myself and remind myself and tell folks that it was the railroads that brought my grandparents and my parents to National City. My grandfather my paternal grandfather, Jose Maria Alvarado, was born in 1899 in Monterrey, Mexico. And his parents had left them there with some friends during the Mexican Revolution. They never returned, so it was determined that they may have died during that war. He started working on the railroads, and he ended up coming to National City and working on the Santa Fe railroads. He remained in National City until the age of 102 when he died. And so I was able to hear a lot of stories he had about his time on the railroads in National City. So it just is so important to me that now I'm able to serve on the MTS on public transportation that helps folks to getting from one place to the other. My parents are both living. They're in their mid-80s. They, too, live in National City. My father worked with politicians as I was growing up, but I never imagined that I would one day run for office. My mom was a school board member, and she first started working as a school liaison for 24 years at a local elementary school in National City, and then followed that up with 24 years as a school board trustee for the city or for the National School District. They have both been very influential in who I am today. I was brought up to be very confident in a very diverse community, and enjoyed being raised in a community where everyone seemed to feel like a hometown where we all looked out for each other. There was one high school in National City, Sweetwater High School, still remains the one high school that both myself and my parents attended. I have one brother, and during that time that I was raised, my parents had little money, so the focus was on my brother as being the male child in the family. I was given a path of, either getting a job or getting married. And so later, as I grew up, I had started attending Southwestern College. I went to Southwestern for 2 years and achieved Phi Theta Kappa status. I later married, had 3 sons, and it became much more difficult for me to continue my education. But it's something that was inbred in me to continue to let everyone know, including my own children, how important education is. And I always continue to let folks know that is a priority, in addition to trying things out of your comfort zone, pushing yourself to do those things that you may not necessarily think that you're capable of. I never would have imagined that I would one day be sitting in the position that I'm sitting in, and I'm very grateful to be here.
Okay, Georgette, your turn.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you so much for inviting us. It's really amazing to be. I want to thank you for holding this space. I think it's really important. I'm first generation Mexican American. My parents actually left Nayarit, Mexico. That's where they're from, Chilapa, Nayarit. And they came to San Diego. In Mexico, they're basically farmers. but the farm industry suffered significantly in terms of value. So life over there was pretty not a good one. So they needed to make a decision just in terms of and my mother was in education in Mexico. She was able to get her degree, and during the time that she was growing up, it was not a friendly environment for women to get educated. Coming from a small rural town, so women's role really was in the home. So she broke a lot of barriers, and she's always been an inspiration for me, and really pushed education as number one priority for all three of us. So really, education was very, very present for her. So she was the one that made the decision to come to the U.S. Because of us. She just saw that there was very little opportunity for both my brother and sister at the time I was born here. I was born in Barrio Logan in 1975. And as they moved here, migrated here, very working class throughout my entire life. Both my parents and really worked really hard just to be able to have enough to provide for their family. My dad worked in the fields north, picking avocados, oranges, and that's in between at nighttime, along with my mom, would clean hotels, janitorial work. My mother would also. She was very involved, and both my brother and I know my sister and my brother as well went to Burbank, and she was very involved in their education. I went there just for kindergarten at Burbank Elementary in Logan Heights. And then something happened to my grandparents in Mexico, so we had to go back. So I actually went for the first time ever, never been to Mexico before. Went and we stayed there for maybe like a good 5-6 years. I did a good amount of elementary school over there. I didn't finish because when we came back, I finished here 6th grade and Emerson Bendini. And then, so I had a really unique childhood because I was born here. This is what I knew. And then, my grandma, who I've never met, passed away. And my dad was needed to go back to take care of some things related to land, related to home, and obviously bury my grandma. So I was over there, a completely different world for me. Lived in a small town where there's no running water, no electricity. You walk everywhere or bike. And it was a good, and that really led to appreciating what we have here. The fact that you can just turn on the lights and they come on. It's something sometimes that we can take for granted. You turn on the faucet, there's running water. So I learned to appreciate the elements that we tend to sometimes ignore or take advantage of. So that was really something that I really learned early on. And then when we came back, like I said, I finished 6th grade here in San Diego. Still lived in Logan Heights area. And then junior high school, I was bussed out from the community to San Carlos. I went to Pershing Elementary School, junior high school. Yeah, I was at junior high school. And that's where I started to see how communities were created different. I didn't know that because I went from living in Logan Heights to going to Mexico. Those were my worlds. So that's what I had. And then coming back, I had no clue about the border either. I didn't know what a border was. That was just not a reality for me. And my parents did come here undocumented. So coming back was not an easy thing. So that's when I literally hit that we have these borders and what it means to family. Because obviously I had papers, they didn't. And we dealt with that situation. But really that really was a rude awakening for me. And then once we got here, going to San Carlos and just seeing that as well, a different world. And then from there, I went to Tierra Santa to Serra High School. I wanted to go to Patrick Henry or San Diego High. But obviously, my mom thought that, wealthier communities had better education. And she was really, for her, us getting the education was like her number one priority. And when we came back, that's when I knew how much they gave up for that purpose. So I couldn't fight her. I was just like, okay, I'll go to Serra High School, not even knowing where Serra High School was. Tierra Santa, I had no clue. But I felt that they gave enough for that purpose alone for us to get educated. And I could only do what my mom was going to tell me to do and go to Serra High School. So I did. But I was, during that time, when I started getting bussed out from my community, that's when I started getting a bit more active. And that my brother, who's older than me, he was already going to community college. He went to Mesa College. Mesa College at that time had a really, really active mecha, and he was really involved. He got me very exposed to that. He was also involved in Danza Azteca. And
Hold
I
that
was
thought,
very,
please. We're going to commercial, but we'll be back to talk about, we'll finish your childhood, and then we'll talk about the communities you represent.
A podcast or radio show on WS Radio is a great way to create content marketing. Turn prospects into customers into raving fans. Contact Wade at WSRadio.com or call 866-WS-Radio.
The richness of your life is reflected in the shimmering elegance found at Diolune Design. One-of-a-kind jewelry and pieces from Cynthia Dillon in silver and gold help to express your unique personality. The flowing designs of her creations will empower the way you move throughout your day. Join us online at DIOLUNdesigns.com.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, CEO and founder of VinVillage.com and the Wine and Dine Show on Vin Village Radio. Do you have a wine, event, product, or service to promote? Then contact VinVillage.com to reach thousands of wine lovers across the country. VinVillage connects like-minded wine enthusiasts with unique and exclusive wines, events, products, and services. To learn more, contact us on VinVillage.com. VinVillage is where wine lovers connect.
One person has the power to change the world, impact millions of lives, and leave a legacy for lifetimes to come. That person is you. In the New York Times bestseller, What is Your What? Steve Olsher, award-winning author and founder of the Reinvention Workshop, reveals his proven process that has helped thousands of men and women discover, share, and monetize the one thing they were born to do. Grab your free copy now at www.whatisyourwhat.com/free. That's www.whatisyourwhat.com/free.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine, and we'll give you a meal for your mind.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McCullough brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcCullough.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. MCAULIFFE. ChristopherMcCullough.com.
information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome, neighbors, to Vecinos with your host, Maria Garcia.
Welcome back to Vecinos. I'm here with my two guests, Mona Rios, Councilwoman for National City, and Georgette Gomez, Councilwoman in San Diego City. When we went to commercial, Georgette was telling us about her childhood, so we'll let her finish, and then we'll talk about the communities they represent.
Yeah, so I left off when I was in high school. My brother going to Mesa College, and he just got very involved with Mecha, and he would bring me along, and he too was very also involved with Danza Azteca, Danza Mexicayo. So I never really joined that group, but I was really exposed to it, and really created a huge influence to me. So in high school, I was more involved with cultural identity and really just trying to get connected to that and also create awareness. So then from there, I move on to San Diego State. And being that I'm from Barrio Logan, I always wanted to become involved in influencing how neighborhoods get created. Not really knowing the how, not knowing about becoming a planner or any of that, but I knew that my community was created in a certain way that was not a healthy way, a way that would create the best opportunities for youth to succeed in life. And I knew because I just, like I said earlier, being bussed out, I just opened my eyes how other communities were created. The fact that at the time growing up, there was not a single grocery store around the community. There were liquor stores that we would go to, small markets, but needless to say, liquor was like the very present, right? And then as much as we love and celebrate Chicano Park, we cannot ignore the fact that it's surrounded by freeways, right? And the community did something beautiful there. I keep referring to, making beauty out of ugly, and that's what the community did. And I'm very proud of that. But the fact of the matter was that other communities didn't have their parks surrounded by freeways. They had grocery stores. They had sidewalks that were maintained, lighting. So all of that really just started making me question, like, who makes these decisions? And what is this, right? So that's where I learned about urban development and city government, specifically local government, has that authority. So I go to college wanting to do that, but I didn't know that it was through urban planning, right? So I thought that being an engineer would lead me to that. So I started as a civil engineer at San Diego State, EOP student. At that time when I came in, there was a fracture of Mecha ACHA was created. And I got myself involved in ACHA. I was also involved with other clubs that I was leading. So I just became very involved actively, aside from, cultural identity. That's when I started becoming more civically engaged to that extent. I, needless to say, very quickly I learned that being a civil engineer was not going to lead me to what I wanted to do. So I quickly started just looking at the catalog of San Diego State. And I remember reading the entire catalog, the entire descriptions. And I ended up in the geography department where I did urban, it's natural geography and cultural geography with an urban emphasis in planning. So that literally was because I wanted to do planning, but not just planning for the sake of planning and sake of economic growth. I wanted to do it to reflect culture, the people that live in communities, but also do it in a sustainable way. And soon after I learned that there's a planning degree, I didn't want to do that because that was not reflective of that. So I went through the geography department route, and got my degree. I also, during that time that I was going, the women's center was being created, and it was very present because in colleges there's a lot of abuse in women. So it was created, very present. I got really involved because in my background, my mom was in a very abusive relationship, domestic violence, and everything that comes with that. So that was something that I grew up with in a constant manner. So college, that's when I learned that you can do things, and you can be active and try to redirect and bring more attention. So I got really involved with that. So I graduate. My first job out of college was I was a crisis counselor for domestic violence and sexual abuse survivors. But then from there, my ultimate goal was going back to Barrio Logan and heal that community. And that led me to working for a nonprofit, Environmental Health Coalition, in which I started as a community organizer in Chula Vista, working on trying to de-permit the power plant that used to be there, and then got involved in also influencing the Bayfront development as well. And then from there, 2010 comes, David Alvarez approaches me and saying, hey, I want to run. I was already really active, and he wanted my support. And I thought about it for a bit, and eventually I told him, okay, I want to get involved in your campaign. And that was another layer into my involvement at a different way. I was more of a community activist, organizer, starting to get involved in policies and whatnot. And then here he comes. And I was doing voter education and everything. And I just got really, really involved with him. And I just saw when you do elect good people at council, the policies, the direction that, you can have is much better. So 2015 comes, Marty Aramo does not seek re-election, and I went ahead and ran a very, very tough campaign, but here I am.
Good. Now, I would like to ask you both about the communities you represent. I'd like to know, if I was sitting across this country, give me a description of your community, what it means to you. Mona, we'll start with you.
Okay, great. So I represent National City, and I actually got involved in politics. I had been in the library field for 25 years. I'd worked in the children's department, and I was a product of the MAC program with Roger Cossidis. So I had parents coming to these programs and sharing with me the issues that were concerning to them in National City. And my first thought was, why are we still there? Because these were the same issues that I had seen and observed when I was raising my family, and thought more and more about getting involved in politics. I, at that time, was on the negotiating team for the library department, and as many negotiations, sometimes it feels as if it's not negotiable, and I wasn't happy with the last contract that had been presented to us back in 2005 with a previous city manager. He stated if I wasn't happy, I could leave and he would help me. So I think, I had been considering running for office, and that might have given me that extra push to consider being a voice for the community that I love. National City is a small community. It's the second oldest community in the counties, 6 months behind San Diego City. And we have a population of almost 60,000. 68% of our community is of Hispanic, Latino, and 20% Filipino. So we have over 80% of people of color that share a lot of the same issues in our community concerning immigration, housing, homelessness. And these were things that I felt after growing up, working, playing, and living in my community, raising a family, that I wanted to help contribute to. And so when my husband and I met, he asked me to marry him. He was in the service, and he came from Pomona, California. And so the first thing I said to him, yes, I would, as long as we never leave National City. And he agreed to that.
And he married you anyway.
He married me anyway. He feels National City is his hometown now. And it's a community that I really want to see not only survive but thrive. And I'm hopeful that my voice on the city council will help to navigate that direction. We'll make sure that we're hearing the voices of the people that live in our community. I don't think, or I felt that was being done to that degree that I feel it is now. I feel like we have people that are coming to our council meetings that hadn't participated in past years, because whether or not the decision is in the favor that they choose to, they recognize that their voices are being heard. Just at the last council meeting, there was someone who stood up, belonged to an organization on an issue, a very important issue on housing, and he started by saying he wasn't going to speak because he didn't live in our community. And that made me feel as if we were doing something wrong, if we were making folks feel that they didn't have a voice, whether or not they lived directly in National City, we were sharing the same issues.
We're going to commercial. We'll be back with both Georgette and Mona. Thank you so very much. This is The Vecinos. I'm Maria Garcia on WSRadio.com, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McAuliffe brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcAuliffe.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McAuliffe. ChristopherMcAuliffe.com.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine, and we'll give you a meal for your mind.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
Attention business owners, if you feel like your business owns you and want to grow your company and get your life back, then get the Scale Toolkit at scaleyourbusnesstoolkit.com. Created by Wall Street Journal bestselling author David Finkel and Priceline.com co-founder Jeff Hoffman, this free collection of 36 videos and PDF tools will help you build a business, not a job. Go to scaleyourbusnesstoolkit.com today and learn how to work less by getting your business to produce more.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.
If you heard that sound, you probably are eligible for insurance from Navy Mutual, insuring the men and women of the Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard. Here's what one policyholder, retired Navy Commander Thomas Dade, had to say.
Navy Mutual is the best insurance decision I ever made. I wish you had a savings plan available that earned the rates my Navy Mutual insurance has been earning.
Navy Mutual Aid Association, started by military members in 1879, serves active, reserve, and retired military today. Navy Mutual honors our military by providing them affordable life insurance with the features they need without fine print, sales fees, or military service restrictions. Value, integrity, trust, and stability are the cornerstones on which our commitment to you and your loved ones are built. Call Navy Mutual at 1-800-628-6011 or NavyMutual.org for your personal life insurance plan consultation. 1-800-628-6011 or NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome, neighbors, to Vecinos with your host, Maria Garcia.
Welcome back to Vecinos. We're going to let Mona finish a little bit more about her community, and then I'm going to ask Georgette to talk about her community that she represents. I also want to ask both of these ladies if they feel they're treated differently because they're Latinas, but that'll be after you tell us about your community. Mona?
Okay, and I'll just finish up. I was starting to tell everyone about the fact that my husband agreed to marry me with the stipulation that I remain in National City. And it was so important for me to stay in the community that I saw that there was a lot of need, a lot of ability to improve the quality of life of the folks that live in our city. And I wanted to be a part of that. I think it's really important that folks recognize that they have a voice. And sometimes they need folks to, like myself, to just remind them that I'm listening. Thank you.
Georgette, tell us about your community.
Yeah, so District 9 is one of the newer districts that was created last redistricting at the end of 2011. So 2012 was the first time we had a District 9. And this district is really interesting. It's made up by 11 different communities. But even within City Heights alone, because City Heights is part of the district, in City Heights, I believe there's 17 communities in City Heights, right? So 11, just making City Heights one, it includes Talmadge, Kensington, San Diego State area, City Heights, El Cerrito, and then it jumps to 94 South. So everything between the 805 and the 5 is this triangle. Mount Hope, South Crest, Mountain View. It touches the boundary all the way to National City. So it's really unique if you really think about it. I have African-American community in the South, very heavy Latino community throughout. You have the San Diego State area. You have Kensington and Talmadge, which is much more affluent economically, education-wise, and even during the time, participation in voting, right? And then, honing closer to City Heights, where I said there's about 17 communities there. City Heights has no longer, because now they're going to El Cajon, but we have the number one. San Diego is the number one refugee community. It's where refugees come in terms of population. And they still come to City Heights. So you have people from Vietnam, from Burmese, Sudanese. You have there's so many people. There's from different countries, right?
Which is part of the charm of that community.
Most definitely, and I love that. I mean, you walk on the weekends when you're driving or walking, you see it very present. You see Vietnamese in their culture, in their regalia, the women from the Muslim women, the Muslim men. You see it. It's very colorful, and I love Saturdays. I usually go to the farmers market, and you see the melting of everything coming together, and it's really beautiful. It comes with its challenges as well, because how do you this is a population that, this is new to them, and they're living situations that are pretty horrid. But then when they come here to an urban environment, different country, different way of living, different pace. How do you engage? How do you engage them, right? So I've been working with some of the organizations, trying to make myself more available, just trying to make sure that they understand that I really want to make sure that there's real representation, because we have to shift that. And specifically, I mean, I don't like to say specifically now, but yes, Trump has created a narrative, and that narrative's been there, but he's elevated that narrative. Right? We cannot ignore that. So I want to make sure that people feel that at the local level, that narrative is not so. So that's been the work that that we need to do as leaders and as electeds as well.
Thank you very much. Mona, I'm going to ask you what one of your biggest concerns, and then if you're treated differently because you are Latina, and of course I'm emphasizing Latina, the woman aspect.
Right. Yes, thank you for asking that question. I wanted to just go back quickly to describe National City in terms of the jurisdiction. We do not have districts in National City, so it's an at-large race. So it's the top 2 vote getters whenever there's an election, and we represent the entire area of National City that is 7.2 miles of land, but a total of 9.2 miles. So to give you kind of the geographic of what National City looks like. In terms of how I've been treated, growing up in a community like National City that was so diverse, and it's sometimes difficult now to understand, my thinking, but I didn't feel the racism that folks had talked about, that my husband had expressed to me, who was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the racism that he experienced. I never experienced any of that growing up and didn't really value that as a young child till I was older. But once I was elected into office and had an opportunity to serve through my representation on the MTS board on some of the committees on Sandag, there I felt that there was a difference of how women were treated compared to the men that were sitting on those boards. Predominantly, they were mayors of cities, and when I sat there in a role of advisory. So I didn't have a vote. I did have a voice. But the women who did sit in positions where they represented their communities with a vote, it seemed as if whenever they had input or insight on an issue, it was kind of moved beyond really fast. Like, okay, you said what you needed to say, let's move on to the next person. It wasn't taken seriously. There were many situations where I think there weren't enough women sitting on the board, and I see that changing today. And I'm really excited to see that, because I think that's what's going to help to change that environment. Sitting on the National City Council specifically, we sit in a council that seat 3 men and 2 women, and it is very obvious to me that the 3 men continue to vote alike without any justification for the reason they're voting in the direction other than that they're trying to stifle the women on the council. I sit with my colleague Alejandra Sotelo Solis, who has been there now 10 years, and they have brought forward policy because they have those majority votes that will tie the hands of us being able to be leaders for those constituents that support our efforts. Most recently, a policy was enacted that had never been enacted, I understand, where it now required 3 votes to put something on the agenda. In the past, we could bring something forward from a constituent or something that we felt was important to be discussed and have staff bring it forward on a future agenda. Now that is impossible for us to have that ability to do that. So I definitely do see that women are treated differently, lesser than, and I do see that changing, but it's just not happening as quickly as it should. And that's another reason why I think it's so important that we encourage more women to run for office, so that voice can be heard, especially the voice of the Latina in communities like the one that I represent, as well as Georgette. I think folks are fearful sometimes of coming forward because of immigration or other issues that prevent them from voicing their concerns. And that is something that we need to continue to assure our residents that the immigrated status in National City is not the priority when you come forward, and we want you to know that you're safe, We just passed a compassionate city resolution that has one of the strongest languages, strongest language in making folks feel comfort. But we also have had 2 incidences where the ICE agents have come into our community and have virtually taken people off the streets in front of their children.
Georgette?
Yeah, so definitely being a mujer and being Chicana is pretty significant. I'm a firm believer that, our stories, our history, our, what we have encountered is matters when making policy decisions, and it matters to be represented. So representation does matter, no matter what people say, that everybody's going to represent you because that's what you're supposed to do as an elected. Having, not all of us have the same path or the same experiences that we're exposed to. So that's what we bring to decision making. At least for me, I know that that's what I bring in the constant and everyday decision making in terms of, how is this going to impact my community and beyond? Because my community is what it is, but there are more communities like that in the city of San Diego and other cities. So I'm constantly thinking about that. And being a woman as well, I think we come at policies differently than men in terms of how we make decisions.
Hold that. This is Vecinos. I'm Maria Garcia on WSRadio.com, the worldwide leader in Internet talk, and we will continue this conversation after our short break.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, CEO and founder of VinVillage.com and the Wine and Dine Show on Vin Village Radio. Do you have a wine, event, product, or service to promote? Then contact VinVillage.com to reach thousands of wine lovers across the country. VinVillage connects like-minded wine enthusiasts with unique and exclusive wines, events, products, and services. To learn more, contact us on VinVillage.com. VinVillage is where wine lovers connect.
You've heard me talking about Progressive Medical Center. They have helped me feel my best. And Dr. Gully, tell us a little bit about integrative medicine. Why is that such a big deal at Progressive Medical Center, and how can that make me feel better?
Integrative medicine is just good medicine. It's combining the best of traditional medicine, nutritional medicine, natural medicine, and really helping the patient get to the root cause so they can take control of their health and really make an impact to improve not only their energy, their vitality, and just their overall outlook on their health and their life.
I procrastinated for a long time before I finally made an appointment. So why should someone not delay and go ahead and get set up and come see you guys?
Any journey begins with that first step, and that first step means making a decision to recognize that there's something wrong with you. Whether you have fatigue, inappropriate weight gain, not sleeping well, not concentrating, all of these issues, you can get to the root cause.
So many of us here at The Fish have gotten help from Progressive Medical Center. So why don't you find out more from them today? Go to progressivemedicalcenter.com.
This is your life. Live it well.
You take your smartphone almost everywhere you go. Now WSRadio.com can be there too. Search WS Radio in the Play Store for your Android devices or iTunes for Apple and download the WS Radio application. WSRadio.com on your phone and in your ear everywhere you go. Download the WS Radio application. Do it now. It's very easy. WSRadio.com.
Attention business owners. Does it feel like your business owns you? See if you qualify for a free 90-minute business coaching session to help you build a business, not a job. During this free 90-minute strategic consultation, one of our senior coaches will help you map out the best way to grow your company and get your life back. To learn more, go to MauiMasterminds.com/scale now. That's MauiMasterminds.com/scale now.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome, neighbors, to Vecinos with your host, Maria Garcia.
Welcome back to Vecinos. I'm here with Georgette Gomez and Mona Rios, both of who are city council representatives in Mona in National City, Georgette in San Diego. We're going to let Georgette finish up her conversation about being a Latina, and then I'm going to ask both women to talk a little bit about the MTS board and some of the issues they have faced in their respective roles as council people.
Yeah, so just very quickly to finish up in terms of me being an elected, being a woman and a Latina, I was saying that definitely how women approach policy conversations, policy making, we have to say it's a different than the way males approach it. We're more thoughtful. I mean, sometimes if you ever look at city council meetings or committee meetings, you'll see that, we tend to pull back. Let's listen and hear and then engage versus, the way that I see males, they just engage. I have an opinion and I'm going to say it, right? So I think we're definitely more thoughtful and listen more and then think about, okay, how am I going to do this, right? So that's that, and that matters, and that really does matter. I mean, as we're moving into MTS, when the vote was coming for the new leadership, we saw that being played out, where I expressed interest for the chairmanship, and I did outreach to my colleagues to say, hey, I know I'm new, but I really want this, and made my case, but I also did it in a way that if somebody else that has been there longer than me was interested, I wouldn't have done it. Because I just felt that in order for us to have somebody that is aligned to really ensure that public transit works, it needed to be somebody that believes it, right? So I did my outreach to my colleagues and expressed my interest, but also was checking to see if anybody else was going to do it, and if so, I was never done it. The first person that I outreached to was Mary Salas, because she's been in not only on MTS but SANDAC longer than any of us, and I felt that, okay, let me start with her, and she right away was excited and on board since the beginning, talked to Mona as well, talked to David, talked to all the Democrats and non-Democrats. And, I sat down with Ron Roberts, and he expressed that he, too, was interested and that I should go for vice chairmanship. He can mentor me. And I said, I know it's time for new leadership. You've been in MTS for longer than anybody in that board. You've had plenty of opportunity to lead, and I just feel like public transit is extremely critical. So when actually the vote came, he expressed his support because I was a woman. And I'm forever grateful to Mary stood up against it. He's like, not only because she's a woman, she actually is knowledgeable on this topic. She's been an advocate for a while. This is what she's been doing on transit. So yes, she's a woman, and that's important, and thank you for acknowledging it, but it's more than just a gender, and everybody else spoke the same way. So really, sometimes they throw gender at us in terms of, okay, yes, it's your turn because you're a woman, because it's the year of the woman, right?
Whether you're qualified or not, we're going to let you do this.
Right, but because you're a woman. And so, yes, we need to be proud of being who we are gender-wise, but we bring more than just that. And that's important to acknowledge.
Mona, what would you like us to know about your district? We have only about 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay, so quickly, I do want to talk to folks about a measure that is happening in National City that is being backed by our Mayor Ron Morrison. It's Measure B now on the ballot. It's creating a cost of over $70,000 to our constituents. National City is one of the poorest cities in the county, and this could have been put on our November ballot had it been just for the purpose that Ron Morrison is saying, that we need term limits for all electeds, which I'm supportive of. Instead, it allows Measure B, the measure that he's backing, allows for it to reset the clock. And Ron Morrison, after being in office a quarter of a century, is trying to run again for another additional 8 years. Interesting enough, he'll be running against a colleague of mine, a Latina female who grew up in National City. Her name is Alejandra Sotelo Solis. She goes back 3 generations. She, too, raised a family, is raising a family, grew up, working, playing in National City, and understands the challenges and the issues that she has gone through that many of the people in our community can align with. So I think it's really important that folks understand that Measure B is a bad measure. Measure B allows for someone to perpetuate his job after being in office that long a period of time. And so that's really critical for me to make sure people are aware of. In terms of MTS, my community is one of the communities on the Blue Line that has the highest ridership. It was really important for me to have a place at the table because of the fact that transit is important, and we need to prioritize what that looks like in communities like National City and the South Bay area, the South County area. I think when Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher had moved forward the Assembly Bill AB 805, it was for the purpose of having folks in the South Bay area or South County area be able to have that place at the table, and I wanted to be one of those folks. So I was very happy to be able to have the support of not only the chair, Georgette Gomez, but my colleagues. I look forward to working with Georgette, and I too believe that Georgette has that experience and that background that could lead us to a better place for transit in our communities.
Georgette, you have about 2 minutes to tell us what's really coming up in something that you really want us to focus on from your community.
Yeah, so I'll just focus on transit. So we have an opportunity, and for multiple reasons, to provide better access to better jobs. Where right now our ridership are people that depend on public transit. These are not the choice riders. So we need to change the demographics on our public transit. And in order to do that, our public transit needs to be efficient. It needs to go to the places that people need to go to, and it should not take 3 hours to get there. But then for those that have been utilizing public transit, which is most of our more constituents that are low-income people that cannot afford to buy a car or can't afford the maintenance insurance, and that's why they depend on public transit. These are people that are cleaning our hotels. These are people that are maintaining our gardens. These are people that are basically keeping the heart of our region going. So we need to be responsive to them. One of my colleagues at one point talked about choice. You guys need to stop pushing public transit. This is about choice, right? And I say, yes, this is about choice that is equal. Choice is equal. So when transit gets very little resources and our budget is very little and we only have that much to play with for public transit, guess what? That impacts how fast bus runs, how efficient buses are, how clean they are, where they're going, right? So there's definitely a new tomorrow for public transit. There's better leadership that really believes that we need to invest more in public transit, and we're going to do it. We have a lot of work to do in our end because in order for us to improve the system, we need money. So we're going to be working on that.
Thank you both so much for being here. Once again, this is Vecinos. I'm Maria Garcia on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk show. Both of you, I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A podcast or radio show on WS Radio is a great way to create content marketing. Turn prospects into customers into raving fans. Contact Wade at WSRadio.com or call 866-WS-RADIO.
Kinja Dixon was crowned the #1 sales executive through hard work, deep thinking, and the revelation of universal talk laws. He now wants to share these lessons with you. Universal talk laws are what you need to know and use in business and at home to have successful and effective conversations. Kinja Dixon shares his wisdom, action plans, and wealth. Each book comes with a chance to win $10,000. Find Universal Talk Laws at KinjaDixon.com. On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
Hi, Scale listener. This is David Finkel, co-host with Jeff Hoffman of Scale Your Business. I wanted to let you know that our newest book, Scale, was just released and to encourage you to get your copy. The book will give you 7 proven principles to grow your business and get your life back. If you've ever wanted to grow your business, but held yourself back from fear that it would take over your life, then we urge you to get your copy of Scale today. It'll give you a proven roadmap for rapidly growing your business while also gaining more personal freedom. Scale will help you work less by getting your business to produce more. Scale is for every entrepreneur who ever wondered if they really own their business or if their business owns them. Get your copy online or at your local bookseller. For more information, visit us online at scaleyourbusinesstoolkit.com. That's scaleyourbusinesstoolkit.com.
Controversy and conversation to upset the status quo. A no-holds-barred exploration and obliteration of the limits of possibility. Join me, Steve Olsher, and my rambunctious crew on Reinvention Radio, where each week we scour the planet to bring you the world's foremost social, business, political, technology, and scientific disruptors who challenge the accepted and forge daring, cutting-edge paths. That's Reinvention Radio, where normal comes to die and mediocrity meets its final demise.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect. Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.